Welcome to the Living Consciously TV show, coming to you live from our Denver, Colorado studios. I'm your host, Coach Steve Toth. Also, our theme today is spiritual evolution, and this is our 5th season, and we call this our kickoff show, where the entire cast actually shows up on the show. So let me introduce you to our entire cast, beginning with the cast members that are here with me in the studio. Ninon de Rosa, right here. She is from Las Vegas. She's here with us. Thank you for being here.
Oh, it was fabulous. I had to get up 6 o'clock this morning to be here.
But it's worth it. Thank you so much. And she's, of course, part of our Self-Evolution cast member. She's a cast member there. And right next to me is Jenna Cook.
And I had to get up, what? I'm only an hour away.
That's right, from Aurora, Colorado.
I chose my time. I didn't have to fly.
And Janet is our Health and Wellness Evolution cast member, so welcome.
Thank you, Steve.
To the show. Absolutely. And then the cast members that we have on Skype, beginning with Jane Eileen Cohen. She is part of our Spirituality Evolution cast, and she is coming to us from that beautiful city called San Diego. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. I'm glad to be here today.
We're glad to have you. And next to her, we have Jamie Lerner. She's also part of our Self-Evolution cast, and she's coming to us from Chicago. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you. It's great
awesome.
to be
and
here.
We would have Lynda Dyer with us. She's also part of our Self-Evolution cast from Australia, but she is somewhere in Australia doing a seminar, so she couldn't be with us. But, of course, our heart and our energy is with her, right?
Down under.
I like that one. That's a good one. Down under.
So this is something that we do every season when we start a season, and we are going to have a discussion, a dialogue about what happened in the last season, some of the highlights. And I will begin with acknowledging with all of our cast members. So beginning with Ninon.
Uh-oh.
Ninon, I want to acknowledge you for your positive attitude.
Thank you.
And also the way you engage on all of the shows that you show up on, and you show up a lot.
I like it.
And the truth is that, you know, what life is mostly about, I feel, is we got to show up.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yes.
And you certainly know how to do that.
Yeah, if you don't show up, you're not there.
And also, I want to acknowledge you for the award that you're going to be receiving from Denver Open Media for being the most engaged, not just the most engaged participant, but somebody that spends a lot of time and energy commenting on all of our shows and being on our shows.
Well,
so
I find
thank
them very
you.
interesting. I think they're fun, and it's good to sort of, you know, bring out your own voice after you see the show and what the show's all about, and then you sort of look at it, and it's fun. I like it. I enjoy it.
So thank you for being all of that.
And thank you.
So I'd like to acknowledge Janet now. So I want to acknowledge you for managing our websites, specifically the membership portal, and also sending out all those email blasts. So thank you very much for...
And not too many of those.
Yeah. And also being a leader for us last season, season 4, in the health and wellness evolution area, where towards the end of every mastermind call, you have spent some time with us, helping us to make our health and wellness better.
Good. Thank you.
So thank you. And also I wanted to acknowledge you for your ability to speak your truth. I remember several shows where you just wouldn't give up. And you just kept asking.
Maybe a couple shows, yes.
You kept asking the questions.
But so I never got the answer.
I want to, yeah. But,
still waiting.
So I'm still waiting. So
we're working on that. Right. So, all right. So now I'd like to acknowledge Jane. Jane, I'd like to acknowledge you for your commitment to transformation. and your consistency to speaking your own truth.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And last but not least, Jamie. Jamie, I'd like to acknowledge you for your calm and soothing energy on all the shows, and your non-judgmental and unconditional love.
Thank you very much.
So thank you for being that for the show. All right, so with that, I want to ask each one of you, which show was your most favorite show that you participated in, and why? And which one was your most challenging show, and why?
Stop looking at me.
Beginning with Ninon.
Always put me on the first spot. The show I love the most, obviously, is probably because I'm a very vain woman. And I don't mind admitting it. But it was with a show with Dr. Dyer. And Dr. Dyer, obviously, he does plastic surgery. But not only does he do plastic surgery, he just does the face. He doesn't do any other part of the body. And that's what so he's focused on one thing, one area, which I really, really enjoyed. But also he takes care of people that are burnt or cancer people that have had problems with their face. And I think, and he dedicates a lot of his time to that. And I just think he's a very personable, very kind, and also very young. He's only, I think, 34 years old. But he's amazing. And I think the way he answered so many of the questions were just beautiful, and it was honest, and I think that's what I liked about the.
Yeah, he's also very gentle.
Yeah, very gentle and very kind, but he knows his work. He knows what to do. He knows exactly. He's very, very good at it, and he has his own practice, which is amazing at that age.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. And which one was your least favorite show? Most
Oh,
challenging?
well, we all know that one, the challenging one. Jamie, where are you? That was what was his name?
Was it Sensei?
Sensei Grant. Yeah, Dr.
Yeah.
Grant.
And why?
I found him. I found him very much talking about himself all the time. It was very much about him all the time, and he seems to have this thing of not acknowledging people by who they are or their name. It's just we just become like a person sitting there, and I thought that was very rude. And I don't think he cares for women too much. I think he's a little bit biased on women. I just I haven't spoken to him personally though, so this was on camera.
Just your experience.
So yeah, just my experience on camera. Now maybe if I met him, it could be a different story. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, but that was the number.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Dr. Grant.
No problem. And, what about you, Janet?
My favorite one is Dr. Dyer. If
Oh.
I ever had, I really liked him. His
Yeah.
personality was very outgoing. Usually when you see doctors, they're kind of
Which
like
one?
bland. Dr. Dyer, the plastic
Dyer,
surgeon, the one from Beverly Hills.
Yes.
Yeah, because sometimes when you meet doctors, they're very scientific, logical, and no personality.
Yeah, no.
And he very genuine, very outgoing, very can relate, has that charismatic.
Oh, and you
there.
go to his office and be face to face with him, the same thing.
Absolutely,
Oh,
yeah.
incredible.
I liked
Incredible.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah, if I
right.
ever wanted to get freshened up, he'd be the man.
All right. We're all going to Beverly Hills.
Me too.
There you go. Road trip.
Maybe we'll get a package deal.
All right,
go.
exactly.
We're gonna package
I'll go
deal.
under his knife anytime.
Exactly.
Okay.
The one that was the most challenging is it Forbes Riley. She was the woman that was very much into the outer piece. And really, and that was the one where I think that was the most I was ever challenging, because I'm pretty shy, kind of sitting back, watching, what have you. But that was the one that was
But
most
you were not
challenging.
shy.
I was not on that one because I wanted to get down what was in there. And she just kept avoiding it. And I mean, I did 3, 4, maybe 2 or 3 times. She never could answer the question.
Yeah, she was responding to you like a politician.
Politician, exactly. Well,
She did it really well.
Yeah, but you were very persistent.
Well,
you wouldn't let go. You kept going and going, but you still didn't get your answer.
No, well, because the show was going to end. So that was probably my most challenging.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you. What about you, Janet?
I'm Janet.
I mean, Jane.
You guessed the wrong
Jane.
answer.
You just add a T to it.
After 2 years, I still don't have the J
Take
squared
the T
away.
off.
Sorry.
There you go.
Because
Well,
J's
we're
are
giving you
muddled
lots
up.
of practice.
Jane, Janet,
Lots of
Jane.
J's.
Jamie?
I'd say my favorite one was Dr. Dyer also. I found him to be very personable, and sort of the mood of the whole show was sort of very light and loving, and actually sometimes it was actually very funny. And Lynda Dyer I thought was quite funny on the show. She was really in high spirits. I really enjoyed her. So I would agree with that. But also, now Dr. Grant Crowley,
Cruelly.
I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name.
Cruelly.
Cruelly?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
That's fine.
I wasn't on the show, but I enjoyed it. If I was on it, I might not have felt the same way. I enjoyed it because I could see a lot of transformational potential in that show, where there's a lot of there were power struggles going on. There's a lot of interpersonal dynamics that weren't being talked about. And it's hard because when you're dealing with this stuff right in the moment and trying to figure out the right way to respond to something that is very challenging, it's hard to then take another step beyond that to sort of understand what the dynamics are and bring the dynamics out in the open. But I saw a lot of potential there, which sort of gives me an idea. It helps me prepare for situations like that in the future where we could make it more transformational. So from that standpoint, I really enjoyed that show.
Okay. And your least favorite?
Well, I don't know. I suppose you could say that was my least favorite also, because it irritated me at the same time. But it was interesting too. So.
Okay. Okay, great. What about you, Jamie? Which one was your most favorite show of all?
I love them all. It's hard to pick a favorite. I've really enjoyed all the guests that have been invited to be on as part of our show, and I can't pick a favorite. They've all been just wonderful. And
Jamie, I can't possibly see you have the ability for you to go out and vote.
Let me talk about the one that was most challenging.
Okay.
Let us guess.
Go for it.
The Dr. Grant show was the most challenging for me because first of all, I think he's really interesting. And I think he has so much to offer us and to teach us. And yet he couldn't get beyond his ego. He couldn't get out of his ego to present the information that I thought would be so helpful to all of us. So it was so frustrating to me to interact with him, and I think my frustrations and sometimes really turned into I don't want to say passion, because I wasn't passionate. I came undone. I just came undone.
You did. It doesn't happen often, but it certainly happened on that show.
I don't know. It was misplaced passion. Really, it was misplaced passion.
Yeah. I think that's good.
But I have to say, this is a man that is so interesting and so knowledgeable. And for me, it was a perfect example of somebody that has so much to offer and cannot get out of their own way in order to deliver it. And in many ways, it was a great example of unconsciousness. So,
yes.
But, I think we should have him on again. I really do. I
want to be on it.
I
volunteer to be on the show.
we can pick on him again.
He's a charm. He's been on twice. And maybe, with all of us, we could really, we could help him. We could help him,
Well, actually,
deliver a more
I would say
presentation.
it would be a great exercise in also for us to learn how to manage ourselves.
Absolutely.
How to manage our own egos and how to manage... For me, how to manage the show better so that when things like that happen, I do a better job of getting us, out of the downward spiraling and getting back to a more positive, productive show. So,
but I also think it's sort of something for us to be more conscious too of somebody else's feelings, where they're going and what they're doing. And as Jamie said, she was trying to get other things out of him, and also Jamie was saying, but we never really got there because of his own ego. So for us to try to understand that as to whom we are is to try to get that out of him so that he can get into the place where he can be very enjoyable.
yes, but you see, it's not about him. It's about you.
I know.
And it's about me, and it's about
But it was
Jamie.
all about him because he's got this big ego going. So
Right.
I totally agree with you, Steve. The whole point is, what are the relating dynamics that are happening in the show? Bring them out in the open so we can see what was being talked about was not really what was going on. And no one was talking about what was really going on, which is really what's really interesting.
Yes. Yeah, so
well,
perhaps...
once again, I hope that we do bring him on again.
Okay.
Good.
That would be wonderful.
I'm ready.
I'd be surprised if he was willing. God.
I will make that happen. Okay. All right. Excellent. So thank you, everybody. So now I think we're ready to go into our next segment, which is really about the theme is spiritual evolution. And just a little background. The entire cast meets every Friday at 2:00 on a call, what we call a Living Consciously Mastermind call, where in the background of these shows, we actually do our own personal work. And each season is dedicated to one of the 7 pillars that we keep bringing up and we keep talking about. And we actually do, once a month, we do a pillar show about one of these 7 areas. And I'm not going to read all those off because I think most viewers, or maybe if you're new, you can go to our website and see what those are. But we just recently renamed them because we feel that everything that we are involved in right now in terms of the show and in terms of our own growth, it's really about evolution. So spirituality has been renamed. That used to be, on its own as one of the 7 areas. It's been renamed to spiritual evolution. So it so happens that on each season, or about, right before we start the season, we make a choice in terms of which one of the 7 areas we dedicate our energy to in the background of the shows. And it just so happens what we focus on, those are the types of guest cast we end up attracting. So for this season, season 5, we have chosen the spirituality evolution area to work on with ourselves. And every season, there's somebody within our cast members who volunteers to lead it up. So this time, who's going to lead it up is actually Jane Eileen Cohen. So thank you very much in advance for taking that leadership responsibility to lead the entire cast. And this is how we actually can say, without feeling guilty, that we do walk the talk.
I hope so.
Because we do this kind of work on ourselves all the time. So I'm definitely looking forward to it for the entire 13 episodes. And we're going to kind of dive into it today with Jane. So my first question to you, Jane, is, let's see, how is it possible to free human beings from their motivational and emotional systems? I think you're very familiar with what I'm asking since you are an NLP expert.
Let me just repeat the question. How is it possible?
Okay, how is it possible to free human beings from their motivational and emotional systems? So I think what I'm asking you is...
Well, first they have to want to be free. They have to recognize that there is some challenge there. So,
yes.
Like for instance, when I work with clients, if they don't come to see me, or sometimes what happens is a wife says, "My husband should go see you." Change him. So that doesn't work. If a person is not recognizing that there is something in their life that's not working, so that's the number one step. The person has to realize there's an issue.
Okay. So it's kind of interesting, too, that we have chosen this area to work on because it is now November of 2012. Or December. Today is December.
Today is December 1st.
Oh, my
December
goodness.
1st?
See how
It
time
is December.
flies?
And,
It's December.
And a lot of people, I think, seem to think that life as we know it will end this year.
Well, 12, 12, 12 or something.
Right.
I thought it was 12,
21.
21.
No, 12, 12, 12.
Okay.
Yeah, 12, 12,
12,
12.
21, 12.
Or 12, 21,
12,
12.
21,
That's next week.
There's all kinds of different
I know,
conversations
Well, nothing's going to happen.
all over the
Well,
place.
we're still going to be living.
But a lot of people seem to have this belief that that the world is going to end. My feeling is, just my intuition tells me that the world is not going to end. It's just going to transform. There's something that's coming this year, at the end of the year, I believe, that has to do with energy. It has to do with frequency and how we operate as human beings. And it's kind of interesting that we picked this subject because spirituality is the only thing that I know and spiritual evolution that can help us as human beings get through these times. How do you feel about that, Jane?
I feel very engaged in it. The shift, what I would call it, I call it a shift in consciousness, which a lot of people are calling what's happening, and we're already engaged in a shift in consciousness. I don't know if the 21st or whatever date that is actually how significant that's going to be. Apparently, astrologically, a lot of things sort of come in place. Humanity is already experiencing huge shifts happening. A lot like the global financial instability, global warming, things like the way people have conceived of marriage and organized religion and how you advance in the workforce. All of these things are shifting and changing and not having the kind of meaning and stability they used to have. So there's a shift in how people are perceiving what reality is actually, perceiving where safety, stability, survival comes from. Because what they've been conceiving of, where it comes from all the, for generations, for centuries, is now falling apart. And so there needs to be another way of perceiving reality, another source other than out there and feeling at the mercy of things outside of oneself. So this is, to me, an extremely exciting and important time.
I agree, actually. I think what we're seeing is a lot of different nationalities, especially in America, coming into America. So America it's always had nationalities, different nationalities, but never in such an abundance. And I think now what we're seeing is a group, and they want it done their own way. And I think this is shifting everything of how we all think, because they want it their way, we want it our way, they want it their way. And now it's not in their own country, it's now in America and in other countries. And you see all these people are shifting around, and we're trying to take on their way of living or try to get away from their way of living. So we've got this little battle sort of going on, and I think this is, as Jane was saying, this is a big shift in the country, especially when we see this big storm we just had, who was no purpose of anybody, Sandy, was it?
Yeah, Superstorm Sandy.
Superstorm Sandy. And you see these people, all these people, have to completely rearrange their life now. They have a completely different life, and rearranging it and sort of coping with something with kind of a happy smile on their face, because they've ended up with nothing. And how do you do that? How do you have a house, you have a home, and then all of a sudden you've got nothing?
It's gone.
It's gone, goodbye. And it's so you're right, the shift is definitely going on all over the world.
Well, it's sort of like people generally believe their source is outside of themselves until they get into a situation, often life-threatening kind of situation, where there seems to be no physical level solution they know about. That's when they turn to a higher source. They might call it God or divine source,
you're right,
or whatever
they're going to a higher source. They are.
And people don't turn to something larger than their human constructs until they're in that kind of situation.
Well, the other thing too, though, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but what what also begins to happen is that they start to look inward, because I do believe that is we are our own greatest resource, and so it isn't what's outside of ourselves; it's really what is within ourselves that we can tap into and be guided by. So yes, this is the most exciting time, and I think. Go ahead.
What's within ourselves is our connection to a larger source.
Yes.
Actually, I love what Jamie just said. When Jamie just said, looking at our inner self and making it more positive, rather than sort of going into they're now thinking of new ideas and how do I cope with this and what do I do? And I think they're looking into it more of a positive place and realizing more who they are than just living that very mundane life. And now they're creating, they have to create.
Well, my experience is people just don't go and all of a sudden start creating. Something has to trigger, something has to have a significant emotional event, or unfortunately, like your home's gone because of a storm or a tornado.
Yeah. But it's usually something like that has to start you off anyway.
Or a disease in your body, and then you start saying, now you're going to go down that journey of an inner pathway into spirituality. Find out, like, where am I? What am I supposed to do?
Funny you say that, because unfortunately a friend of mine had breast cancer, both breasts. And she changed her life completely. She said, Ninon, I now think of life completely differently, and what the value of life is and what has happened to me and how I feel. And it's like not always just, give me this, give me that, want this, want that.
Don't sweat the little things.
Don't sweat the little things. she's got into a bigger life with her 2 children and her husband, and it created something completely different to her.
Well, and it's interesting. I have a friend that was 57 that had liver cancer last year, and I thought that same thing would happen to her, and she didn't. She stayed until denial until she passed away about a week ago, unfortunately. Oh. But you know, so I
she
guess
killed herself.
Yeah.
People have a choice. People have a choice.
They
Okay,
do.
so for me, I was just listening to you and kind of checking in.
Oh, that's right.
Good.
You are here. Good.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
So,
Hello.
so for me, the only thing that makes a difference for me is to know, like know in my heart that...
From your heart, yes.
Yeah, in my heart, that I am not my emotions, I'm not my feelings.
You're not?
No.
Really?
No. I'm actually able to separate myself from all of that and make a choice independently from that. Because I believe where human beings get into trouble is when their emotions, their feelings, and what's going on in the moment basically takes them over.
Yeah.
I agree.
And they're
Okay.
no longer,
Okay, that does.
they're no longer in charge of what's going on.
So you now feel you're in charge.
So there is this, and I think this is the key for me to spiritual evolution. There is no spiritual evolution until each human being on this planet are able to make that difference for themselves. Mm-hmm. Like you got to get to a point where you can say, okay, I can really, and if you look at religions, all the different types of religions, they all talk about this in one way or another. So, and what I can give you a good example. So, for example, I was thinking the other day, what makes a good corporate evolutionary being, like somebody that's really thinking in new ways and wants to be really a leader, but not the old way, like standing on the top
That's happening a lot
and
lately.
dictating how things should be.
That's happening a lot.
So I was thinking about that, and I went, oh. So a good example that came to me, what makes a good leader, is when you look at an orchestra and you look at the conductor. The conductor is an extremely good leader because what he or she does, if she brings out the best from every individual person that's playing an instrument, and ultimately what ends up happening, we hear, not only hear, but feel beautiful music.
I've got a saying for that one, and it just came over my desk recently, that a conductor is very focused because he has his back to the audience. So he's concentrated on his orchestra. Interesting.
It is.
Because he does have his back to the audience. You think about it, he does have his back to the... So he's not... No one's distracting him back here.
No.
Right.
So
But
he's just...
I would like to also interject that I don't really believe, my personal belief is that it's not really our responsibility to bring out the best in anybody. I think that we need to be the best we can for ourselves, and that living, breathing example of our ability to be connected to ourselves and unconditionally love and accept everyone, that gives everyone the opportunity to tap into that who we are, and to make the most of that through our example. But I don't really believe we are responsible for affecting or influencing one other person. I mean, certainly
maybe
we
you're
can.
misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Maybe you're misunderstanding what I said. So in
No,
order
I think the
for you to be
connecting thing-
part of an orchestra, the one that I was describing, you as an individual have to be already a master of that
Absolutely.
instrument.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and you don't get to be on this cast of Living Consciously TV if you already, in some ways, you are not a master of your own self, also your ability to be awake and to be conscious. You don't get to be here.
Well,
So
you
that's
can't be.
a prerequisite.
Right, so-
That's
so
a prerequisite.
The thing that's pulling all this together is what's necessary is to be able to come into the present moment. And from there, you do connect with other people because that's true for you in that moment. But the most important thing is that the present moment is like the portal to divine source. That's how you make the transition or the connection between yourself and a larger reality, a larger truth, where it's a co-creative process. So it's your own individual experience connected to a larger truth or a larger knowing bringing in information and possibilities and connecting to what was ever connected to the divine outside of yourself, which means other people as well. So you help facilitate bringing into experience whatever is connected to the divine, whether it's in other people or situations, whatever that is, which is totally, totally crucial right now at this point in time, because we need new information. We need new experience of reality. We need a new way of defining what reality is.
Oh, I think we're
But
getting
often
plenty
that
of
gets transcended
Yeah, we're getting
through
plenty of that.
vibration, though, too.
Yeah.
That is more important than the individual interaction that we have with one another. The actual vibration that we're able to first create within ourselves and then transcend out there into universal consciousness.
So you're saying that as a part, as separate from relating to someone else? So I mean, to me, that's the same thing. I'm not sure if I'm understanding.
Yes, I mean, I really don't think we ever even need to have interactions with other people individually. I think that we can, through our own connection with ourselves and our vibration, that we can transmit that vibration.
Only if you want to become a guru.
Yeah, really.
Well, it's not about a guru.
Well,
I think that you walk through.
I like my private
don't-
moments. I
If,
like
if
my
you want to
private-
become a
You walk
guru,
through and you can
you
walk
don't need to
through
be
a grocery
involved
store.
with
Yeah,
other
but I
human
like,
beings.
but we all like our
Let
quiet
Jamie
moments.
speak.
no?
I want to hear what she has to say.
All I'm saying is you can, through your connected self, walk through a grocery store and without saying one single thing to anybody, you can connect with every single person in that store and you can transcend vibrationally your connected state of being. And that in itself contributes tremendously to universal consciousness. That in itself. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, however, I have this experience, Jamie, that life happens in communication.
There are many kinds of communication, though.
Well,
Well,
so
the
you can
the
feel
one that you're
someone
talking
and
about,
never speak to them.
the one that you're talking about, which is energetic communication, I think
Yes.
that's part of evolution, and I don't think we're there yet. Most people are not there yet.
Well,
But-
the people that are there,
Mm-hmm.
they're very powerful. And I think that there are many more of us than you know to be, because they are leading the way right now for this big transformation that is happening.
I have a slightly different way of looking at this, which may be sort of the same. To me, there's only you in the universe. So you're in relation. So every moment is a part of divine order. I mean, you can choose to be connected with what you're meant, or the best that you can do in a particular moment, what feels accurate or on target or guided to do, whatever that is, which may be talking to someone or it may just being. But whatever it is, if you are connected to the higher part of yourself and to your guidance, and you do what is in front of you to do, then you are participating in this larger transformational
I think that's
process.
absolutely true.
Okay,
There's
so
no doubt about
so I
it.
just want to make sure that the viewers are not getting lost
Yeah,
in
good
this
idea.
conversation, because both
Right.
of you are speaking things that
Lawyer
the general
terminology.
public may not
Yeah.
be able to understand
because
and
it's-
translate.
yeah, quite
so
on.
so what? Let's just clarify. What are we talking about when we're talking about higher self? What does that mean?
The higher self is the part of you that goes towards what really benefits you. So in other words, if you're going towards addictive kinds of things like excessive alcohol or excessive anything that doesn't really benefit you. People go towards things that don't benefit them all over the place, and that's accessing a lower or less evolved part of themselves. And from my perspective, one way to define the evolutionary process is moving more and more towards what actually benefits you. So the part of you that enjoys love, that enjoys connection, that's connected with your intelligence, connected with consciousness, connected with truth, that part of you is a higher part of you and is going towards what really, truly benefits you.
Are you talking about the observer?
Not necessarily. I mean, that could be a part of it. I'm talking about the part of you that goes towards what I call enlightened self-interest, which means being really engaged in life in a way that really benefits you. It's going towards, you're immersed in love. You're not sort of observing love. You are being love. You are in love. You are relating from love. You're engaged in truth and intelligent. You're totally engaged.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, Jane, what is the difference between somebody's spirit and their higher self for the audience?
I'm not sure I could answer that. I haven't really studied the definitions of spirit or how people call that. I mean, spirit is sort of your life energy. I don't think I have a lot to say on that subject. Sorry.
How about you, Jamie?
Well, you know, I don't really know if there is much difference. I think that when we are connected to ourselves, that we have an incredible amount to offer everybody around us. And once again, without even uttering a single word. I mean, just to be amongst people, when you are connected to yourself, all you're projecting is love and light. And people around you feel that if they're open to feeling it.
Yeah. I think, yeah.
So, and when we're connected to ourselves, that's how we feel. We feel joy. We feel love. We feel light.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I earlier was talking about the observer, and the observer to me is our ability to realize that there is a new self, and that new self is the one. It has the ability to stand outside an individual's emotional states, thoughts, and sensations, and able to then treat them as an object. Does any of this make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think if we're talking about this new self, and I don't care what we call it, we can call it spirit, we can call it the observer, we can call it God self. I mean, there's many names for this.
Definitely.
And you can look at all the religions, everybody has a name for this. So what occurs to me is...
You got to share it.
This just hit me from nowhere. Is you know how religion talks about, many religions talk about turn the other cheek.
Well, yes, ignore the situation.
What does that mean?
Ignore the situation. You haven't seen it.
Turn the other
You
cheek.
don't- Yeah, you
How
haven't seen it.
many people
Well,
in general
okay,
are effective to be able to do that?
Everybody, a lot of people do that. They
I
love to do
think-
that because
I
they
think
do not want to
I think
cope with
that
it.
concept is confusing.
They don't want to
think
face.
I don't think people really understand that concept, and it's confusing. It's not about someone wronging you and you forgiving them from wronging you. It's switching realities. It's, are you going to engage in the power struggle where people are at odds with each other, or are you going to access a different part of yourself and relate to the higher self of the other person? So it's a switching realities. It's like you can't be angry and be in love at the same time. It's not
Why not?
possible.
Well, you can be.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can be.
Yes, you can. Absolutely.
You can love somebody and then switch and hate somebody.
Of course you
know,
can.
in different, but in the same moment, it's a different vibration. So you enter into
yes,
one
it's a different
world
feeling,
or another
for sure.
world.
Yeah, one's hate and one's love. It's definitely a different feeling.
But you can still possess
But
them
you
all.
can still have them.
And a little
You
bit
can
more.
have them, but not in the same moment.
I
I
you
don't
can
know
switch
if
in a
it's
little. That could be a switch. That could be-
Microsecond. It could
Yes,
be love,
that-
hate, love, hate.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's a microsecond. It's still not the same moment. So
Okay,
if you're
so-
switching realities.
For a moment, let's go back to connecting to, I mean, you were using the words higher self. Doesn't matter what we call it. I just called it the new self. So how do we connect to it? And I think I was talking about when you're noticing that you can actually be the observer of your own emotional states
Right.
and what's happening to you. And I said earlier in the show that I have recognized that I'm not my feelings. I'm not my emotions. Those are just ways of being. I can actually observe them and make a choice. Like, remember when I told you when you walked in and you sat down, Janet, you said you have low energy?
Yes.
And I said, yes, but
Because you could feel it.
I can transform it in a minute. And right before the show, I will transform it.
You get
Like-
your energy.
You'll
Right.
suck it out. The
And
reserves.
that's
that's
what I
also
mean.
because of his
And that's part of, and that's not to go, oh, great, Steve, you know how to do that.
Right.
But I feel part of spiritual evolution is that we can, at any moment,
Okay, yeah.
on a given moment, we can change our state.
Yes, we
Okay,
can.
so
but
I can
But
address
it's also to
that.
do with your
ahead.
surroundings.
It does have to do with that too, but it's also a choice, and I know Jamie would agree with that. It's what you do with your mind, how you interpret things affects the emotions that come up. And what you're talking about getting rid of the emotions, you're not talking about getting rid of emotions, you're talking about getting rid of triggered emotions.
No, I'm not
Activated
talking about getting
No.
rid of the emotions. I'm talking about the
Transforming.
ability to witness it and not necessarily act on it.
Right, so it has to do
That's
with
a huge
changing how
difference.
you're.
See, people that are unable to separate themselves from that stuff,
Right.
they
Put themselves
actually
in trouble.
become
That
their
thing.
emotions.
Yeah.
Right.
It's because they think that they're responding from reality. That's the difference.
I don't think it's a
switching
think.
your
I don't-
experience of
I don't
reality.
think-
So if you interpret something as someone being your enemy and attacking you, you're going to feel hate and anger. If you recognize that this is an interpretation that's not necessarily accurate and come into the moment and actually be present with the person, realize this is I'm making this up. This is not really happening.
Well, I have to say that you cannot experience that when you're connected to yourself. So you would know to be
Right.
disconnected is to experience what you're describing. And
Right.
from your point of connection, you would never experience anything from
Right.
that place where your emotions would take over. And in that moment, you would be able to not become aware of actually what's happening. So, and I think that's good for the audience to know that, that's a wonderful opportunity to recognize connection, disconnection. And I think we do it all day long. We connect, we disconnect, we connect, we can disconnect. But it's important to know that we can choose to reconnect with ourselves at any moment or disconnect from ourselves at any moment. And once again, I advocate that we consider it as a choice, that
Well,
we're
that's
not a
nice.
victim.
Okay,
of
so
any
there's this
other
question.
behavior.
Okay, there's this question. So let's say one of the viewers is asking this question. How do I connect to myself?
First, you have to slow down.
What's the answer?
Well, slow down. And,
First, you
What
have to
is
slow
this
down.
connecting to myself, and who is myself?
True. But you have to
So
slow
that's a
down
great
to see the
question.
landscape.
Okay, so some of the ways you do it is you have to have a feeling of centeredness. So you might slow down, breathe slower. You might focus in on the center of yourself. Or you could start with being aware of what you're feeling. Pay
Well, we don't
attention
know
to
how
what
to
you're
do that.
feeling.
I
Quiet
think you
your
want to
mind.
put yourself into a comfortable place to start with. I think just to sort of obliviously out there and say, well, I'm going to change myself. I think you have to center yourself into a place where you're comfortable, that you can relax and you can start breathing out and sort of realizing who you are, what you are. And as I was going to say before, that if somebody is angry and they start screaming and yelling at you, why would you want to scream and yell back at them when you weren't mad in the first place? So you just should really actually look at it, observe what they're doing, and not join in it. The only reason you would join in it is because you're taking on what they're doing. And you don't want to do that. You want to stay where you are, keep it away, walk away, relax, then come back. But you do not want to join, unless you want to join it, which I would doubt, because that's not the situation.
Okay, but that's not really answering the question. The question
But
was,
actually,
how do I
think
connect to myself?
oftentimes It's our thoughts that we are having in our own private mind that is disconnecting us. So
Absolutely.
to become aware of your own private
own
thoughts,
self.
because nobody can control those own private thoughts but yourself. So
Right.
to take a moment and to identify what are those specific thoughts that I'm having in this moment,
Okay.
and
Exactly.
that would be a first, a
Is
good
that the
place to
answer you want?
start.
Well, let me just
You're
clarify.
wanting an answer, though.
Let me just
That's
clarify.
not the answer you're wanting.
I'm not hearing what I want to hear.
No, you're
so,
not.
No, you're not.
So I'm going to say
No,
it.
you're
Okay.
shutting off.
Okay, so for me, if you are unable to separate yourself, like this new self I've been talking about, like if you can't observe yourself, you can't observe who you are being when you are living by the dictatorship of your emotions and feelings,
Or environment.
forget it. You can't connect to yourself because there is nothing to connect to. All there is the ego, and that's the only thing you can connect to. Your
Well-
higher self is not there. You're not recognizing it. You know. So
I
if
think
you
what you need to understand is this is all we have. I don't have you or anybody. I just have this. This is what I have. This is what I control, and this is what I take care of.
But what is this? The biological human
That's
being?
my human being, my body.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well,
I
everybody
wanna-
has
so
one of those.
If I'm going to start thinking of certain things that say my business, my phone's not ringing. Why isn't my phone ringing? Because I'm not putting the energy out there. I'm not putting the stuff out there that I need it to happen and to do. That's not up to anybody else out there. That's solely up to me. So what you're asking is to be in touch with your inner self. And it doesn't sound like you're
that's
in
actually
touch.
a different. That's actually a different thing. What you're talking
Well,
about.
You're
Ninon,
changing it all the
Hold on one
time.
second.
You're
Hold on one
changing
what
it
you're
all the
talking
time.
about,
Hold
what
on.
you're talking about
Steve,
is
what you're
thinking
saying
and modeling.
in ter-
That's what you're
about
talking
the
about.
ego
Talking
is
about
true.
what?
Thinking and modeling.
How about the law of attraction? I
Well,
thought
yeah,
that was...
law of attraction was a good one
For
too.
example,
Yeah.
we, as human beings, this is kind of cool because we are at the top of the hierarchy, right? we have this ability to model something before actually it happens.
Absolutely.
Like we know if we're going to do something, if we're going to
split
do it
second
and act
before.
on it, yeah, we know what the consequences are going to be, don't we?
I hope so.
Okay.
And most of us do.
Most of us do. Sometimes we don't. No, but
Sometimes we don't.
hopefully
Yeah.
we know what we're doing.
That's very powerful, by the way.
Well,
that
I
we,
would
we
hope.
can model.
Yes. Absolutely, it's powerful.
Separates
If you
us from
don't know-
animals.
But getting back to what you were saying, Steve, even in the moment that your ego has taken over and there's nowhere to go and you're disconnected, to be able to just say that is very powerful.
Connected.
That's
It's
a
very
good place to
connected.
start, to say,
That's
you know, my ego is in the way. I am disconnected. There is nowhere for me to go from this point on.
you have
That-
to be connected to
you
a
were
larger
saying.
part of yourself to be able to do that, to have that consciousness.
Well, you know what? There are moments when people are aware of it and they're not wanting to do anything about it. Something
Well,
is occurring.
I think
and
what Steve was just saying actually is a very good possibility if you're not accessing it yourself. But we live in a world teeming with much more than ourselves, and there are people in the world that we have access to that are more centered. And we might think, oh, I'm feeling horrible. Look at this person. They seem to be feeling okay with themselves. So you can learn by modeling other people. I think that is definitely a
Oh,
tool that people
absolutely.
can,
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
can find if you can't find it yourself as a first step.
Yeah. Well, that's what you were saying about these corporate people that used to say, you know, whatever they said was it, that was fine. Or now they've got a lot of networking people, they've got consulting people coming in, they've got coaching people coming in to teach all these people to do it this new way.
The
And
new
it's going
holistic
on.
way.
The new holistic way, the new way of doing business, the new way of having a corporation, the new way of founding it, the new way of encouraging your employees and giving them that incredible energy to get more work out of them.
And you know how
Yes,
they
and
do
that new way is really, the new conscious corporate model for me is our ability as leaders to bring the best out of people in terms of what they could have.
Absolutely.
That is it.
Instead of pulling them down and saying, like we do, people are doing a lot with the younger generation who are my heroes, and I will stick up for them any time. They all say, you know, you're stupid, you're an idiot, you're this. Well, if you keep saying that to somebody, you know, what do you think that's going to do to them?
They're going to believe it.
So, of course they're going to believe it. Then
Well,
they
you're
wonder
going
why
to
they're
bring
bugs.
out their stupidity. Their,
That's what you're going to bring
you know.
out. So if you, like I was saying, you come
but-
into the corporate office and you get these consultants and these coaches that come in and they actually say, well, you did a great job and you did this well. Do you know how much work you're going to get out of that person? A tremendous amount, because you're giving them the encouragement. You're giving them,
So-
they're starting to feel good. They're thinking better of themselves. Oh, I did something good for a change. That's what
So
people want to
another-
hear.
Another perspective on what you're asking, Steve, is it appears to me that the world is becoming more conscious. And so that there is much more access that people in general have to a higher way of looking at things. For instance, people, rather than saying, this didn't work right, they say, this thing has an issue. It's like your phone has an issue,
Blaming
or your car
someone
has an
else.
issue. I mean, that
Passing the buck.
terminology, you know, in other words, there's a limiting decision, or there's some dysfunctional thing happening. There's a whole different shift in the way people are perceiving reality, which is taking more responsibility for what they're creating in their life. I'm not sure if I'm being clear here. Even commercials, instead of someone saying you have a problem, they say you have a challenge, which is a much more evolved way of looking at something. So
Having a problem and having a challenge are really two
what do you
different
feel,
things.
Jane,
the
what do you
mass
feel,
consciousness is shifting.
Jane,
Go
what do
ahead.
you feel
Yeah.
our evolutionary success depends on overall for human beings?
That's a good question.
Human beings.
Their ability to take responsibility.
beings.
That's what it depends on. Their ability to take personal responsibility at every moment that they can.
Responsibility.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Take responsibility.
But some
Personal
people can't do that.
responsibility, not
No.
responsibility for others,
Some
but
people can't do it.
personal
No, your own
responsibility.
responsibility.
See, I feel that most of humanity are very engaged with their personal needs and wants,
Absolutely.
and that's their primary commitment. I think there has to be a shift, and I think it's already shifting, where that has to be aligned with evolution itself. Because
I'd like to address that. I'd like to address that, Steve.
yeah, and before you do, I just want to say that biologically, in terms of our evolution, I think we're done, don't you? Do you think there's anything else to do
No,
with human
that's not
beings?
true. We keep on
Oh, no,
evolving.
Biologically,
yeah,
what do you think that's...
Biologically, we're evolving. For one thing,
We're always
the
In
amount
what
of
ways?
the potential for love that people have is huge. it is way more than the physical body, as it is now evolved, can withstand. There is an expression of divine expression coming through people that is way more than we are evolutionary capable of at this moment. We are continuously in an evolutionary process on all levels.
Absolutely, yeah.
But to address what you were asking, and this is one of the big confusions, and this also is very important for people to get in order to evolve forward. There is a difference, and I sort of mentioned it before, there is a difference between I want this and I want that, which is from the lower self, which doesn't really benefit you, and going towards your enlightened self-interest, which includes connecting with other people, includes heart connecting. It includes the higher parts of what you really desire. That leads forward, and that leads to evolution. So it's not that people have to stop wanting what they want or desiring what they want. It's when they go after substitutes for what they really want, that's where people go in the wrong direction, and that's what you're talking about. So when you're talking about selfishness or me against you and stuff like that, that is not what people truly desire. That is not what really feeds them, that benefits them. So it's getting a deeper understanding of what really benefits us is what leads us forward.
Which I think starts with personal responsibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because if everyone personally became responsible for their own connection with their self, this would be just an incredible world. And I think we are. We're moving towards that. I think people are really embracing the opportunity to evolve. And those opportunities are becoming more mainstream for people.
They are becoming more mainstream.
Yes.
But don't you feel that this responsibility, I mean, a lot of people could misunderstand what that means. What do you mean by personal responsibility?
It means to manage your thoughts and to manage your connection with yourself. That is your personal responsibility.
Manage your human beingness.
But not blaming other
Yes.
people.
With yourself.
But I think there's more. There's more to it. There's that, and there's more to it. And what that more is how do we ensure that we are consistently moving towards human beings' evolution. And I think what it means is all of us need to find our purpose. Why are we here? Mm-hmm. What is that one thing that really turns us on? And when that's aligned with something bigger than ourselves, then we got something going on.
Absolutely, yeah. I think when you find out your dream...
It does naturally align. Yeah. I think what Jane is saying is true, because that is the natural extension of ourselves when we're connected. That just naturally occurs.
Right, so, because life inherently does work. That's an inherent nature of life when you come into the truth of what's true.
And it's interesting. When people are connected to themselves, they become very excited and very passionate. Yeah. And they want to share what they're doing with other people. And they want to share who they are with other people. And it just becomes the next logical step. So I think when
they share that with other people, they then get the encouragement to move forward and to make it better. And then they've got these people coming in, and they're not starting to feel good, and then they're starting to feel good. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just a matter of sort of getting this wheel working, of sort of, you know, not always putting other people down of how bad they are, but also sort of encouraging them of to where they can go. And I truly believe the brain hasn't been tapped into at all. I think there's so much of the brain to be tapped into, and so much more there that we're doing. And I think we're doing it, and I think through the computer and all this technology going around, it's bringing us out, you know, it's bringing out in us, especially the younger generation, because now they can go on the computers, they learn things now that we never learned until we were very much older. So it is that they're moving much faster, and they're becoming far more intelligent and knowing themselves, because they are doing it by themselves.
Okay. Well, here's the last question, and we need to wrap up the show. So my last question is, do we have a large evolutionary blind spot? And if we do, what is it? And what do we do about it?
Yeah, I think we do. And that is not understanding what actually benefits us and what doesn't. So in other words, and it has to do with people's idea of what progress is. People try to manage their pain. And they do think what motivates them is doing something, getting rid of the pain. Rather than engaging in life. So in other words, products people buy, cars, beauty products, health products, whatever, a lot of times, rather than actually benefit them, they're sort of buying into, well, this will make you more attractive, or this will make you lovable, or this will make you safe, or this will make you wanted by other people, as if solving the emotional issues that you have inside of yourself can be overcome in that way. And that is diverting people's attention towards the opposite direction of where there are actual solutions. Am I being
Yeah, it's fine.
being understandable?
It's
Everything
fine.
in moderation.
Real quickly, and you're
It's
going
not
to do
about
it.
moderation. It's about walking in the right direction.
We're gonna
Yeah.
run out of time. So, actually, I don't have time to do this, but maybe we'll do it on the next shows. We have lots of guest casts already booked on many shows. I'm looking forward to a very exciting season 5. We're going to be talking about subjects like the one we just covered today. To me, it's very exciting, and we got into some deep things and some light things today. That was fantastic. Thank you, all of you, for participating and engaging in this dialogue and conversation. Other than that, I look forward to seeing everybody next week, as always, same time, same place, in Denver, Colorado, at 3 p.m. on Channel 56. I love you all, and you guys have been absolutely fantastic.
It was
Thank
amazing.
It was
First,
good.
first show of number 5.
Number
Loved it.
5.
Thank you all.
Thank you.